Hi, I'm Vic Piano. I'll be your host as we take a look at the Flatheads past, present, and future in this special video presentation we call Those Fabulous Ford Flatheads.
The story you're about to see is true. Only the license plates have been changed to protect the innocent. Welcome to Those Fabulous Flatheads, where we're sure you'll catch Flathead fever.
This is a real treat for me. I'm standing here underneath a Ford dealership sign with Big Daddy Don Gartlitz in the Eastern Museum of the V8 Ford Club's Ford Foundation. And Big Daddy, I know you got your start in racing way back when Flatheads were king. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, you know, Flatheads were king because they'd been around a long time, especially after the war. They made a lot of special equipment for them, Edelbrock, Offenhauser, and they didn't make stuff like that for the overheads, and they had just kind of come on the scene in 49, 50, and 51 anyway. And they were not able to outrun the Flathead engine in those days. In fact, some of us said the overheads would never outrun the Flathead. Well, we were wrong about that, but we had a lot of fun with those Flatheads. And I remember in the early days, we used to, I had a speed shop in Tampa. We used to go out and buy these Flathead powered automobiles, 39 Fords, 36 Fords, 32 Fords. We get $50 for one, complete driving car. Bring it to the shop and chop it all up, take the motor out, put a hot rod motor in it, put roll bars in it, maybe if it was for a stock car, or lighten it up if it was for drag racing and go to the drags. I mean, I have some of them still around like that I've chopped up. And I guess that's why I really, in the late 60s, I got into restoring these Flatheads back to their original condition, because I had destroyed so many of them. I felt like it was my duty to put some of them back for future generations to enjoy. And I have quite a few here that we spent a lot of time on, unusual cars. Like I have a 37 Ford Roadster, which there's only about 9 of them left in the world. A 42 Mercury convertible, I think it's one of 8. And then there's unusual situations like I tore up a lot of 39 Fords, let me tell you, because that was one of my favorite. Had hydraulic brakes and the shift was still on the floor, so we liked that. And I remember one day I was having a special event here at the museum, and this old gentleman drove in with a 39 Ford. And it didn't look like much, but I know what to look for on these cars. Rust, that's what I look for. And this car didn't have one rust spot in it, not even the size of a dime. And it had been down in Miami. And that's unusual that you would find a car from Miami that didn't have rust on it. And when we bought the car from him and we totally restored it, it's back in here. And I think it's one of the nicest 39 coupes in the entire world, because it has no patch panels in it. Only lead in it is the original from the factory. And it was just, we dinged it out and body filed it off, the whole thing. It was nice. We stripped it down to the metal. That's the way I like to do it. We like to take the cars completely apart. In fact, as you move through here, you'll see a 40 Ford convertible over here in this little, what we call the garage area in the museum, and that's awaiting restoration. And believe it or not, most of the cars they don't look much better than that. Even some don't look as good. The 42 Mercury was a basket case. The old gentleman down in Tampa that had it was restoring that car, and it was a pretty nice car, and he had a heart attack. Called me up, he said, "You need to come get this car." He said, "I don't have the heart to start on it over." We made a lot of parts for that car. I had a lot of help from that Mr. Brownlee up in Atlanta. He is into Mercuries, and some of the stuff he wouldn't even sell me. He would loan me, and we would make patterns from it and actually make parts for the Mercury. It's so hard to get pieces for that. And like I say, there's 8 of them around in the country. I know of 3 or 4 that are actually restored, and I believe that the ones that are left to be restored, they got quite a chore in front of them, because the parts are really hard to get. But the early Ford has become a love of my life, because I like to drive them. I put Columbia overdrives in them so I can go right out on the highway with them and take them up to 65, 70 miles an hour and cruise with the traffic if you need be. And that's the whole thing, keeping the RPM down. I do the engines, the chassis, the transmissions. I have a real good body man, does the body and paint work, Alan Parker over in the restoration shops. But It's been going on now for a number of years, and I've got a 34 Ford that's Cabriolet waiting for restoration, and as I see, the 40 Ford convertible is waiting for restoration. But it's just something about them that is so interesting, and there's so many parts that have been manufactured for these cars, reproduction parts, and I know where a lot of NOS parts are. I have quite a contact. My computer has probably 100 different names and telephone numbers in it of people who might have a part for one of these cars. And I believe getting up the parts is as exciting as actually restoring it. Finding this odd little part in a NOS condition so that you can put one of these cars back together. And we take them out and exercise them. There's a few of them in here that don't get driven very much, real low mileage cars. I have a 40 Ford Coupe back in the back, a gray one, Folkestone gray, 27,000 original miles. This car belonged to Margaret Ward. That's Montgomery Ward's daughter. This car was headed to South America. It was going to belong to a diplomat for the United States. And it had a special convertible interior in it so that the moths wouldn't eat it up down there. And Margaret Ward saw this car on the turntable in the San Francisco Exposition in February 1940. And she says, "Dad, I want this car." And he had so much clout with Ford Motor Company, she got it. Only car she ever owned, drove it 27,000 miles. She married Ed Winfield, the cam grinder. That's how I came to know about it. I was good friends with Ed Winfield, and he was much older than I was, and he kind of took me under his wing, taught me a lot about racing and engines. And I would travel to San Francisco, and this car would be in their garage, and always ask him, "What are you going to do with this car?" And, "Oh, we're never going to sell it." And finally, Margaret passed away, and Ed sold the car to Kong Jackson, who sold it to a friend of mine back east, and I saw it, and I had to have it. And I've been offered a lot of money for that one because that's a famous car. They call it the Winfield Coupe, and they've done magazine articles on it. There's a lot of exciting stories. I could go on and on forever, but needless to say, the hot rod flatheads are my love. I really like those. We built a tremendous amount of hot rod motors. I've got a motor over in the shop now I'm putting together for this 40 Ford, which will have carburetors and a cam in it. But we built them for full house. We did everything to these flatheads: ported, relieved, cam, mushroom cams, radius cams, magnetos, 4 carburetors, 3 carburetors, 2 carburetors, you name it, we did it all. We even put a lot of nitro in them. I ran 50% nitromethane in these flathead engines and got them running pretty good that way. And I have a little 36 coupe that's cut down that I drive daily. That's like the 36 that my wife and I had in 1953. And we drive it. We've driven it to over 2,000 miles since we finished it. We endeavored to make it exactly the way it was when we first built it in '53. So I have a good time with them, and y'all need to come around here and take a look at them sometime. I think you'll enjoy them.
Great, that's an open invitation for everybody watching the video to come down here to Ocala, Florida and the Museum of Drag Racing, and maybe, like me, you'll be lucky enough to meet Big Daddy Don Garlitz.
Have you stroked your flathead lately? For over 30 years, Joe Smith Antique Ford and Street Rod Parts has been providing parts and service for hobbyists with 1932 through 48 Ford car and 1932 through 52 Ford truck parts. Among their vast inventory of new and used antique Ford parts is a complete line of street rod parts and accessories. You're invited to visit their newly expanded showroom and warehouse located at 2140 Canton Road in Marietta, Georgia, or call the toll-free number 1-800-235-4013. They also have a tech line at 770-426-9850 and a 24-hour fax line 770-426-9854. Joe Smith Automotive. Call for a catalog today.
We're here on the grounds of the Henry Ford Estate in Fort Myers, Florida, at an event that's being hosted by the Gulf Coast Regional Group of the V8 Ford Club of America. And in just a few minutes, we're going to meet with George Mitchell, the past president of that regional group. I'm here with George Mitchell, the past president and founder of the Gulf Coast Regional Group of the early Ford V8 Club of America. And George, tell us a little bit about the 34 that we're standing in front of and what got you involved in Fords and why you founded the regional group.
Well, this is a 34 wagon from Texas. It's original, mostly all original. Original wood, never been completely restored. It's just a driving car. And we use it in the club as our work truck. We hauled the food down here for this event. When I was a teenager, my first car was a 35 Ford. I bought for $7, 35 Ford Coupe, had a bad engine. I learned how to rebuild the engine from the mechanics at the Ford garage. I'd walk through the field and they'd tell me what to do and lend me a spline or whatever I needed and tell me exactly what to do, and I'd go back and do it. And that was my start. And then I raced hot rods and stock cars. After I got married, we had 7 children. I didn't have time to fool around with cars. We had to make a living. And when I retired about 13 years ago, I bought a Model A. It took me 2 weeks to get enough courage up to spend $4,500 for a $5 to $15 car. That's what they cost when I was back in the late 40s and early 50s. Model A's were from $5 to $15, and V8s were from $15 to $35. 39 convertible was about $250, and I couldn't afford that. But we had a lot of fun in those days, and when I took me 2 weeks, like I said, to get enough courage to buy that Model A, and I sold the business. I had to stay around there a few weeks. I restored that Model A while I was hanging around there doing nothing for about 2 months, and it took me 10 weeks to restore it. We were going to Hershey. My wife said it would be fun to drive an old car to Florida, so I says, okay, let's drive the Model A. So we shipped a lot of our stuff and packed it up, and I said, we ought to take our Cadillac diesel and tow it behind there with a sign on there and put it's too unreliable to drive. But anyway, we drove it down. It took us 2 days. I went 53 miles an hour, just leaned the carburetor out till that's as fast as it would go. So that's the start of my collection, and I kept getting deeper and deeper. Now we have over 50 of them, mostly Fords. I tend to like the Flatheads better than anything else. And we drive them all over and just have fun. I have a lot of show cars with Grand Nationals and so forth, but I enjoy going to this type of show where there's no judging involved and pressure, and people don't feel that their car's not good enough to bring. And I think it's meeting guys like you and others that are interested in Fords is really the fun of it.
I think if it's good enough to run, it's good enough to bring.
Well, we had a little trouble coming down. This car, I hadn't started it for a year, and 11:30 last night I went over to a garage where I had it stored, and battery was low, so I stuck a charger on it and scraped the dust off of it. And about 15 minutes later, it started up, and put the charger on overnight. Got my wife, and we stopped to get the food, and it wouldn't start, so I got a couple people to push me in the parking lot, and we get going. She says, oh, we got a problem. I says, no, we don't have any problem. Problems when you're stuck on the side of the road and it won't run. As long as you're moving, there's no problem.
Well, George, through the magic of video, we're transported from Fort Myers at the Henry Ford estate and the Ford show that was going on out there into your own showroom. And I got to tell you, I like this Wurlitzer jukebox about as much as I like your 34 Woody.
Well, Vic, we enjoy the Fords, and I had them when I was a kid and didn't have time for it when I was raising my family, and now we're retired early, and luckily we have enough that we can afford to play with these things, and it's just enjoyable.
Well, I see about a half dozen in here that I'd like to add to my own collection. George, can we cut a deal?
I don't think so, Vic. I just buy them, I don't sell them.
Well, we're going to take a look now at some of George's cars, and I think for you purists out there, you'll drool, and you hot rodders won't even know what to think about these cars.
Okay, Vic, you'll notice on the first V8, 1932, the fuel pump, the push rod comes directly up under the pump. It's not offset like your later models. And you'll see the oil fill pipe is in front of the pump on this year. And we go to the carburetor. We have the single throat Detroit lubricator carburetor. Later on, it was increased to the double barrel carburetor, and the horsepower went, I believe this is 45 horsepower, and they increased it to 85. And forward, we have a single mount on the generator for adjustment with a kind of a ratchet or a screw type adjustment that takes it up and down. And then down in the front, you'll notice on the 32 and early 33s, they had the tall coil that's unique to only those 2 years.
George had some really beautiful examples of early Ford V8s in his garage, like this 32. It even came equipped with the dealer-installed ashtrays that George told me were just 50 cents in 1932. And this beautiful Model B Woody, the only non-flathead in there, except for that plastic Corvette you might have seen sticking up behind it. And this beautiful 36 Bambolina Blue Ford Roadster, which was only produced for Easter of 1936. Next to the 39 Woody, along with a 35 Phaeton, a 36 Phaeton, and a 33 Phaeton. Unfortunately, we didn't get to spend very much time at George's garage, but we do plan on coming back with camera and crew to do an in-depth study of all of his V8s, including this beautiful 50. So be sure to be on the lookout for our next video featuring George Mitchell's award-winning V8s, as well as all his automobile-related collectibles like vintage gas pumps and gas station accessories, when George gives us an in-depth, personal guided tour of each and every one of his outstanding V8 Fords. At LeBaron Bonney, they've got you covered. Your car's top and interior, that is. LeBaron Bonney manufactures fine upholstery and top kits patterned from original interiors. LeBaron Bonney's built a worldwide reputation for quality and service, and their kits are designed with the do-it-yourself hobbyist in mind. The complete interior kit contains everything you need to finish off your car's interior, and the top kit includes everything needed to cover your bows. They even offer technical assistance that's just a phone call away. At LeBaron Bonney, over 40 skilled craftsmen take pride in their work and in the quality of their service. Call LeBaron Bonney today at 1-800-221-5408 and get yourself covered. That number again, 1-800-221-5408. We're standing here on the back porch of the Henry Ford estate in Fort Myers, Florida, and with me is Pat Postorino. Pat is a guide here at the Henry Ford Thomas Edison Estates. And Pat, can you tell us a little bit about where we are?
Yes, the back porch of the employees' quarters, actually. Mr. Ford bought the house in 1916 because it was next to his friend Thomas Edison. And then he added this wing and the one on the far side of the house. And right here on the porch, they worked on the V8 engine during the winter of 30-31. And of course, it came out in the Model B of 1932.
I have to correct you. It came out in the 32. The Model B was still the four-cylinder.
Oh.
Okay.
Thank you, I stand.
After the tour of Henry's house, he went back out on the grounds where the Suncoast Regional Group of the Early Ford V8 Club of America was having an impromptu show. Take a look at some of these beauties. If you can't figure out that spaghetti under your dash, it's time to get wired at Rhode Island Wiring Service. They offer the highest quality exact reproduction wiring harnesses for antique automobiles. All Rhode Island wiring harnesses feature the correct color code and gauge in fire-resistant braided or plastic wire depending on originality. They offer 3 different catalogs representing a total of 1,300 models currently available. To get your Rhode Island wiring service catalog, call them at 401-789-1955. Each catalog is just $2, refundable with your first order. Don't take chances with your car's wiring. Call Rhode Island Wiring Service today. The number again, 401-789-1955.
Well, we just pulled into the parking lot of Hot Rod and Custom Supply in Cape Coral, Florida, right behind Tony DaCosta and his beautiful 51 Ford pickup that he uses as a shop truck. Now let's go inside and let Tony give us a tour. Well, we found Tony here in Hot Rod and Custom Supply's shipping department. And Tony, from the looks of the orders you've got up there on the wall, the flathead business must really be booming these days.
Yeah, flatheads are experiencing a great resurgence in popularity. People all over the country, these orders are going all over the world. They're very popular all over now.
It pains my heart to know that flatheads are leaving this country and going overseas.
Well, I'll tell you, we have enough of them here still, and the popularity right here is probably greater than it's been since the 50s.
Well, I tell you what, I have 3, as you know, a 39, a 47, and a 53, but my 53 is a little sick, so maybe you can help me out. I understand you have a couple of flatheads in back. Can we take a look?
Well, it just so happens I do have a few engines laying around, and yeah, we can take a look at them.
Great. Let's take a walk around back into the engine building department, and maybe Tony will fire one of those flatheads up for us. Well, Tony, these engines lined up here don't look like they've received your magic touch just yet. I was thinking of something a little bit hotter for my 53, maybe like the one you got on the engine stand right here.
Well, Vic, those engines are what come out of your engine compartment. This is what goes back in.
Well, I am definitely ready to receive something like this. What have you done to this particular motor? What do we got inside it?
This little puppy's got all the good stuff inside it. Merc crank, big bore, ported, polished, relieved, large valves, heavy-hitting cam, triple carburation. It's got about everything, plus it's as smooth as a baby's butt.
Well, I'm going to put you to the test, Tony. Let's hear it fire up. Wow, even when it's cold, it sounds good. I tell you what, Tony, wrap it up. I'll take it. Well, I understand that in addition to doing flathead build-ups, you also have a tremendous line of accessories that were available back in the 50s, in the days when the flatheads ruled the streets, so to speak. Can we take a look in the showroom?
Sure. Vic, this is the showroom at Hot Rod and Custom Supply. As you can see, there's many interesting and colorful items in here, some of them that date back to the 50s and some of them of current manufacture. It wasn't many years ago that a shop like this wasn't thought to be able to exist, but because of the interest in nostalgia and the people wanting to build themselves an older style car, well, this place is in existence and we do grow and we prosper. There are items in here such as my air conditioning systems, which I developed because I got tired of hearing my friends say I would have kept that flathead if I could have had air. So now you can have air conditioning with your antique motor, you can have power windows, you can have power brakes. It's kind of a good blend of the old and the new. But many manufacturers are making one item or two items, and my job has been to bring all these items together in one place so that people could find them in one catalog. It used to be that you had to know just about everybody in the business to be able to build a nostalgia style car. Well, that's not true anymore. We've made it easier for people to build in this style. Items that you see, such as the famous Smitty mufflers, well, they were absent from the scene for many years, but they were the most famous muffler of the 50s and still considered one of the best sounding. Companies have bought out the old dies and brought this muffler back into life, and they're very, very popular to this day. Other items that you might see on display engines around here, for example, Edmunds-style air cleaners, again, brought out this day with a modern twist. Instead of the old-style oil bath, now they have a modern cotton reusable element to protect your engine. So you can still get that old-time look, yet you can have some of the modern technology to go with it. At Hot Rod and Custom Supply, you can find everything you need for your hot rod, your flathead-powered car, your nostalgia vehicle. Just give us a call at 941-574-7744, and we'll be glad to help you over the phone, or we'll be glad to send you one of our catalogs.
I'm standing here with John Brown in John's garage, and John's been an avid collector of flathead speed equipment for just how many years, John?
Oh, about 25, Vic.
25 years? I guess you've collected several pieces over 25 years.
Oh, a lot of nice stuff that represents the past.
Well, I hope you're going to take some time and let us see some of that nice stuff.
I'd be very happy to. Well, Vic, what I'd like to show you today, some of the early intakes. This is a pre-war Harrell. Pre-World War II, they were two-piece manifolds. They were copied by other manufacturers, Tornado, Harrell. It was a high-rise, it was a 2.2 carburetor, and this was the kind of product that they ran on the streets and on the salt flats in El Mirage and the streets of California. Some of the later manifolds, for instance, this is a Granatelli. You probably know the name. They trade as Grand Core on the intake. Granatelli was the STP family. This is a 3.2 for a late model flathead, 49 to 53. Another famous name, Edelbrock. The 2.2 intake, 2 carburetors, block letter. It's a super manifold without a generator mount. This was more or less a racy type manifold. You had to offset your generator if you ran one, or if you ran a race car or a salt car, you ran no generator. Something that was similar to the heads, Harrell Los Angeles was the same company that made the intake, made heads, and the hot number for the street was to have matching heads, matching intake on your car. Well, if you had Eddie Meyer's heads, Eddie Meyer intake, Edelbrock heads, Edelbrock intake, that sort of thing. Represent the 3.2s, 3 carburetors, where you could run on a center carburetor and then kick in your secondaries. This is an Offenhauser. Again, it's for a late. It's got the breather in the front. A 3.2. Fenton, another prominent who made a lot of intakes. This is for a 4-barrel, which is principally 49 to 53 Ford. Used the early Cadillac or Buick. That was the hot setup, the 4-barrel carburetor. Navarro heads. This happens to be a pair of new old stock, which means they're not manufactured right now. These are were made years and years ago. Barney Navarro still living, still doing heads in Southern California. You can see the heads are brand new. The combustion chambers, everything is perfect on them. This little piece is a filter cooler. It's an oil filter. You mount it on your firewall or on a bracket on your motor, and supposedly the fins, cooled your oil, and they're desirable. They've been reproduced recently. The hot racy product was the 4.2. This is an Edelbrock 4.2-barrel carburetor with little racing scoops. Whoops, can't get that one off. The scoops have little covers. They were made by Covico, a manufacturer years and years ago, who made little covers to keep dirt from getting into your race motor. It's not exactly the setup you want to have on the street, but it was a hardcore race product for the time. You got to remember, everything was low tech. This is the Scott blower, supercharger company of Torino, For years we called it Supercharger Company of Turin, but actually it's Torino. The first generation was called Italmecanica. The second, when it became a little more Americanized, was Supercharger Company, or Scott. This is a reproduction Eddie Meyer's 2.2. It's also a two-piece intake. It's an exhaust heated manifold. The exhaust is routed up through here into here to heat the fuel, make the car go faster. But they've been reproduced recently. Almquist, if you've ever gotten old catalogs, Honest Charlie, Almquist, J.C. Whitney, there were a lot of generic manifolds. This is an Almquist 2.2 made so that you can be used on an early motor or a late motor. The Almquist name, Ed Almquist is still living in Pennsylvania. But if you've ever had the early catalogs and poured over them in your room, that's a piece of that past. Back here, we have a cast iron finned head, which I can't pick up with one hand. It weighs 30 pounds. It's called Kogel Rocket, K-O-G-E-L. And they made cast iron heads, finned ones. Champion made a set of heads. I think Sears or Allstate also had a set of cast iron heads. They were very nice versus the corrosion problems you had with the aluminum. The cast iron went on, the only problem being the weight. To represent some of the ignitions, we have Mallory ignitions, which was a very prominent player in the early years. This is 49 to 53. The looms, of course, that we ran on our early Flathead Fords with the clear wires so that you could never hear the radio. The little Rajah terminals. This was all to make it classy and give it that custom look. They were about, I guess they cost about $4.95 or $5.95 years ago, and now they're extraordinarily expensive. The Harman Collins Magneto. This is an early Harman Collins mag for the pre-48, 48 and earlier motor, and that was the hot ticket for the race number. A lot of them were used on the street, but it's a little more difficult to run on the street. This bit of bizarre machining, this is a 3.2 manifold for an electric supercharger. Years and years ago, someone had the bright idea, let's make a supercharger for a Flathead and we'll run it with a starter motor. Well, they did. It was enormous and you had to power it with your battery, so I guess when your battery went dead, you stopped. But that's went on the top of it and accommodated 3 carburetors. I haven't a clue how they ran. This piece is another Eddie Meyer's. This is an original, it's not a reproduction, it's polished. It's got a Thixton air cleaner. Thixton Tattersfield made high-rise intakes and low-rise intakes post-war. And they were prominent players in the early Flathead speed game. A set of late model heads, Y-end heads. You can see the water neck is in the front versus in the center on the early motors. This is a set someone's going to use. They've been machined on the back a little bit, milled to fresh them up. And that's about it for some of just a cursory look at Flathead speed equipment. There's lots of exotic equipment out there. This simply represents some of what you can have. You know, superchargers, multiple carburetors, different style heads.
I'm sitting here on the front crossmember of John's 40 Ford Standard two-door sedan that's about to receive a very special engine transplant.
One of the things that we've always appreciated with Flathead speed equipment was how it grew, and one of the big products or byproducts that came out of Flathead speed equipment was an overhead valve conversion for a Flathead. The Arden Arcus Duntov was designed in the late 1940s, ran into the 1950s, early 1950s, and it was actually a conversion to make your Flathead valve-in-the-block motor an overhead valve motor. As you can see, there are 2 separate, if I can just push this around, 2 separate aluminum heads with a hemispherical combustion chamber, much like a Chrysler Hemi. They bolted onto the stock Ford pattern, 24 studs. Instead of a 3 6-port exhaust. We now have a Ford 4-port exhaust. You have an oil return line because of the splash system in the Arden. It was designed originally, supposedly, for commercial vehicles to give them more power. That was supposedly the genesis of the idea. But of course the hot rodders got a hold of it, modified them, bored, stroked their motors, modified the valves, hot rod cams, and raced these things at Bonneville and the Salt Flats on the streets, and they become very collectible. Pardon me. We believe there's about 200 or 250 sets that were originally made, and perhaps 100 sets of parts related, but no one knows. Arcus Duntoff, Zora Arcus Duntoff, is still living, but we haven't been able to garner any information on the numbers of the heads actually made. They were all made in England. They made a set for a 60-horse V8 motor, supposedly a dozen or 15 sets, which are extraordinarily rare. What I'd like to show you is the design of the intakes and the heads. The intakes work with two separate logs. This one's in a little bit of a mock-up fashion. The intakes are two separate log manifolds that would go on the heads. You could run two single-barrel carburetors. In the instructions, they referred to ball and ball, Chrysler single barrels that would bolt right on here and here, each feeding a bank of the motor. They have a crossover, as you can see, so you could run your Ford carburetor. This is a later model Holly, but it's similar to the 94s or even the 97. And that's what you would run that would feed both banks. It's a 2-barrel versus running two single barrels. You have a cover, like a valley cover, in place of your intake manifold that would block off all your valve train and everything. You have lifters and push rods now versus a little flathead tappet that would whack away at a valve and bump it open. This is a late motor. As you can see, the distributor in the front. In the back, one of the things you might notice is that the heads, the rocker shafts, are fed by external oilers that would actually go into the rocker shaft themselves. As the little rockers go back and forth, they're oiled internally, but by external lines. And of course, you're inviting leakage and problems. If you have an 80-pound pump or something and you're rushing that oil up, you certainly don't want 80 pounds cascading into your little valve train. So you use a little valve or something like that where you can control it. This is the boss for the original oil pressure sender. But that's the type of thing you had. And then inside you would have little splash system or something to lubricate it. The rockers are rather fragile and they move just a little bit. They have very little bit of movement. This motor happens to have a Weber cam in it, about a 3/4 race. I couldn't tell you how much horsepower it's going to develop, probably a couple of hundred and something.
Are you tired of just looking at the radio in your car's dash? Then it's time to tune in and turn on with Antique Automobile Radio. They can bring your car radio back to life. With thousands of radios in stock covering all makes from 1932 to 1962, Antique Automobile Radio in Palm Harbor, Florida is the one-stop shop for all your car radio needs. They also offer 6 to 12-volt power inverters and voltage boosters so you can run 12-volt accessories on your 6-volt system. Let Antique Automobile Radio restore your car's radio to like-new condition or better. That's right, they can convert your AM radio to AM and FM. They're the last remaining manufacturer of car radios made in the USA. So call Antique Automobile Radio for a catalog at 1-800-WE-FIX-AM or fax them at 813-789-0283 and start listening. In keeping with the V8 Ford Club of America's rules on safety, today we're going to be installing a set of turn signals in my 47 Ford convertible. I got the turn signals from Tony DaCosta down at Hot Rod and Custom Supply in Cape Coral, Florida, and I sent them up to Rhode Island Wiring Service so they could put the proper Ford harness on for me. I was upset to learn that my 47, which is a late 47, had an early 47 harness installed from the firewall back to the brake lights, which did not accommodate the installation of turn signals. So the folks at Rhode Island Wiring Service were kind enough to send me a brand new harness. And I'm here at Crystal Beach Service Center with Jim Flieger, and Jimmy's going to be installing the turn signals with us.
Well, why don't we pull it in and get started, Vic?
Sounds good to me, Jim. Let's do it.
Okay, this piece of harness here that we have first doesn't look like much, but it's for the rear end of the car that comes back to the tail lights, and will go along the frame up to the dash. The other section of harness goes from the dash to the front parking light area, and the turn signal switch itself will mount to the column. All right, the first thing we need to do is lift the trunk mat up so you can get to the access cover for the tank sending unit and detach the wire that's screwed on at this point. We've got the tank unit wire loose from above, so you attach a string to it and then pull it down from above the gas tank. Be easier to pull it back up through when we're done. Okay, move on to each tail light assembly and disconnect the plugs at each end and pull your harness out of the frame. Then we'll move up front and detach it from the brake master cylinder pressure switch and the front wiring harness. Okay, we're now at the rear of the master cylinder where the pressure switch is, so just disconnect your two wires there. And up ahead of it on the frame where it pins into the main harness, you detach it there and then just pull it out of the frame all the way down the side of the car. Okay, to make the job a one-man operation, it is also good to pull a string through the frame with your old harness so you can pull the new one back through this box channel. It still will be tough to feed up through here because you also have the tubing for the fuel tank. Just got to keep working it through the frame. And there we have it through the frame that goes over the rear axle. Okay, you detach your string now, get it out of your way, and pull it on up to the frame where it was attached before to the front harness. Bring your lines back around and plug it on the brake switch. Either wire on either pin is all right. Tuck it in along the frame so it doesn't interfere with anything. And then we'll move it in the back here and reattach it to the lights. Now we pull the rear section of this harness over the two brackets that hold the fuel tank in to take it to the right-hand tail light. We'll have to get some connectors here to attach it. The center lead here that we see is your tank unit. Check your chart for your wiring colors and just plug your units together. Remember to tuck everything up out of the way. This other single lead here is for your tag light. We'll attach it later. On most harnesses of the era, they would use these little connectors to connect bullet connectors together, as you see here. So remember to pull it off your old harness and transfer it to your new one. And you just press them together. Tuck it up in the frame and you're done. What we're going to do next is work on the front parking lights. The internals of the light will have to be changed over to accept a 2-filament bulb using these components right here. We'll work on the right lens first. Remove your parking light lens. Remember that it's glass, so be careful not to drop it. Then I'm going to use a little piece of hose here to get inside the socket to remove the bulb. Make it easier. You might shatter the glass in your thumb if you don't have such a thing. Then we move around the back. All right, what you want to do is come inside your fender, and up next to the radiator is where the wires plug together. So reach around and detach your parking light wiring from the main harness. Pull it through the fender inner apron there, and then come to the back of the socket, and you'll have to slide this boot off. That's a watertight boot, and then feed your wiring out the front of the socket. All right, now we'll assemble the new wiring components here that will go in the front of the socket. That disc first, the spring, this alignment disc here. Notice it's got little ears on it to align in the socket. And then feed this last piece on top of the wires themselves. You strip away about 1/16 of an inch so they'll stick up through there about like that. And then you fold the wire across the top of these little brass grommets on this disc. And you get your soldering gun. And then dab a little bit of solder on there. And you're done. Now we'll feed it back through the socket. All right, now we've got the assembly rebuilt here, and we'll pull it back into the socket. And your two little alignment tabs on the side will line up in the socket and put your bulb in. And then on the other end, we'll put the boot back on, and to help slide it up the hose a little, or the wiring a little bit, spray a little silicone on there, and it'll slide right on up and reattach it to the back of your assembly. Now this wiring harness that we're putting in is to work in conjunction with the existing harness, so we have to provide a hole through the firewall that we're going to locate just southwest of the original harness hole, which is where I'm pointing right now. So we're going to go through here with a 1-inch hole, put a grommet on it, and pull our new harness through this position here. And we're through. Okay, we'll pass the two pieces of harness through the new hole we just drilled. And it'll be nice to have somebody on the other side to help you pull this through. And then we'll put a grommet on it and make a nice neat installation out of it. Now we're going to attach the mechanism on the column right now. As you can see, we're going to use our common hose clamp, and it's got a slot in the back of the mechanism here. Slide it into there. Either use a nut driver or a screwdriver. When you attach this to the column, you're going to make sure that your clamp will not interfere with your shifter on the right side of the column. There you have it. All we have left now is to attach to a power source under the dash and secure the wiring to the column. After we've pulled the harness through the firewall grommet, you pass it right down the face of the firewall. You come between the Y in the frame where the other harness comes through. And you'll have this much hanging down that'll go up front for the front parking lights. Now we're going to attach the harness to the front parking light minor harnesses. And remember, you got to transfer your little connectors, possibly. And just feed it up in there and connect them. Route your harness back up on the frame. Now we want to attach the rear harness to the dash harness, and it's simply just matching up your color-coded wires. Okay, our final step is to come back in the trunk and hook up our sending unit. Just pull on your string that you hooked up earlier, pulls the wire up over the tank, and reattach your screw. Cover plate on, mat back down, and we're done. Job complete, job done.
Brownlee's Old Time Auto Parts in Lawrenceville, Georgia is your source for those hard-to-find 41 through 48 Ford and Mercury parts. Call Wayman and Shirley Brownlee for new, used, in-OS, and reproduction parts, and don't forget to order a catalog. Call Brownlee's at 404-963-7315. Brownlee's are specialists in those hard-to-find 41 through 48 Mercury parts, so give them a call. That number again, 404-963-7315. Standing next to me beside this beautiful 32 Ford 5-window coupe with a full-house flat motor in it is the car's owner, Blair Nelson. And Blair's owned this car several times, is that correct?
Twice. I've owned it twice. Bought it in 1960, sold it in 67, repurchased it in 1986, and I've had it back it'll be 10 years this spring.
And how long have you been running a full-house flat motor in it, Blair?
Well, we just finished building it here at Webster Corner Service Garage in Gulfport, Florida. Don Aiken is a garage owner and mechanic.
Well, we're going to have a chance to talk to Don in just a minute, give us some insight as to how he built this motor. But right now, let's take a good close look at the car. And Blair, you can describe some of its special features for us.
The engine we recently put in here is a 1946-48 Ford 100-horse style block. It's bored all the way 3 3/8. It's got a 4-inch Mercury crank. It's a balanced assembly, Schaefer flywheel, lightweight clutch, 36 Auburn clutch. It has a track esky cam and aluminum pistons and dual carburetors, have an alternator and electric fan for street driving.
And I understand that Don made a special high-capacity oil pan for you.
Yes, he did. He built a deep oil pan, and it'll hold 10 to 11 quarts of oil.
With me now is Don Aiken at Webster Corners Garage. And Don, how long have you been into flatheads? I know you built the one that's in Blair's beautiful 32.
Flathead building probably since about 58, when we first started antique stock car racing, although they weren't antiques back then.
And I know that you built the Flying Zero that Blair actually raced, and I had the pleasure of being there back in 1990 at Charlotte Motor Speedway for the Eastern National Meet of the V8 Ford Club and watched his car win the race.
Yeah. We had a lot of fun with that car and impressed a lot of non-Flathead believers. It was a super car. It still is.
I understand now that you still build flatheads, so if there are any people out there that want a flathead built from mild to wild, you can handle it for them, right?
I believe I can.
With me now is Leldon Blackwell of the Auto Place in St. Petersburg, Florida, where they not only do new car repair, but if you look around the place, they do a lot of flathead builds. Leldon, how long have you been into flathead Fords?
About 15 years.
I have a personal question to ask you. I have 3 flatheads. I have a 39 convertible sedan, I have a 53 convertible, and I have the 47 convertible. The 47 and the 53 are running stock flat motors, but my 53 is running a full house motor with a Ford-O-Matic transmission, and I'm running 6 volts. Should I upgrade to 12 volts, or is it all right to leave it at 6?
Well, it all depends. I like to leave it at 6 if it works.
Dennis Carpenter Reproductions manufactures all the rubber and plastic Ford reproduction parts they sell, all licensed by Ford Motor Company. Carpenter's covers a wide range of Ford Motor Company vehicles, both cars and trucks, and offers several catalogs. To find out more about Dennis Carpenter Reproductions and to order a catalog, call Dennis Carpenter at 704-334-2715. How'd you like to be able to fill your flathead up for just 23 cents a gallon? I'm standing here in Zephyr Hills, Florida at one of the largest swap meets in the state, and in just a minute we're going to take a walk around and see what Ford parts we can find.
With me now is Dan Schultz of Antique Automobile Radio in Palm Harbor, Florida. And Dan, I see you got a Raymond Loewy designed Studebaker shirt on, and we're doing a Flathead Ford video, but we'll let that slide because I know that you do great jobs on the radios. You did my 53 and you did my 47, but I'm thinking about an upgrade in my 47, not just the AM, but I want the AM-FM conversion. However, I'm concerned. I don't want to change the face of the radio because I want to maintain the original Ford look, and I still want to maintain my 6-volt battery, and I have the accessory foot pedal channel changer in mind. So if I convert it, or if you convert it correctly, if you convert it to AM/FM, will all those other things remain the same?
Oh, absolutely. We make the radio unit, the FM tuner unit, fit inside the radio, so there's nothing that shows anywhere. The foot control still works like it did. If you have a 46 with the volume control, the foot control, that'll still work.
Well, mine's 47. Mine just changes the channels.
Yeah, it's a cheap one.
That's me. I have all the cheap stuff.
This is the cheaper one. It doesn't have any foot control at all.
But
there's
okay.
nothing that shows anywhere that you look at the radio from front or back, inside or out. It's all built inside. The radio's still a tube radio. Has everything in there God intended for it to have.
Oh, so it's not transistorized. It's still got to heat up.
It's a tube radio. The FM part is a modern technology integrated circuit board that goes in there that tunes the FM band, but it still uses the tubes.
Great. And you can do that for anybody's radio, right?
Well, we draw the line on 59 Lincolns.
Oh, okay. Well, all the guys watching this video, we hope, have Flathead Fords, and they'd only be interested in 32 to 53. Another quick question for you. You know I have the 39 convertible sedan, and I have the faceplate in there, but I don't have the actual box for the radio. And I have been scouring swap meets all over the place trying to find one with no luck so far. Can you help me out?
How many do you want?
I love this guy. I love him.
The other thing is we can do them in 12 volt, which I know a lot of those Fords have been changed over to 12 volt.
Yeah, I don't know why guys change them to 12 volts, but...
But we can accommodate it. We can do 6 volt positive ground or 12 volt negative ground.
Great. So anybody who wants their radio to work so you can hear it over your Smithy's mufflers when you rev that Flathead up, you need to call Dan Schultz in Florida, and he'll take care of you, either AM or FM configurations. I'm here with Paul Freeman and Jim Harver, and Jim's got a unique way to run around swap meets. And Jim, can you tell us a little bit about this flat motor you're driving?
Okay, this guy, based on a Canadian high nickel block, it's been bored and stroked, ported and polished, relieved, oversized stainless valves, Iski 400 junior cam, and Camden supercharger with a 4-barrel Holly.
I noticed you're running a parachute on the back of this car.
Yeah, we use that occasionally.
And it's a street-driven car?
Yes, it is.
Excellent. Well, I tell you what, I'm going to ask you to do me a big favor. Fire it up for me and let me hear what it sounds like.
All right.
That sounds just like my Flathead.
Yeah.
All I want to know is, where was this when I was a kid? I looked for a 47 Ford convertible for 30 years, and when I was a little kid, I would have loved to have had one of these. Well, I hope you've enjoyed our look at the Flatheads past, present, and future in our video, Those Fabulous Flatheads. And I hope you'll keep an eye out for the next one in the series that'll feature Don Gartlitz and a personally guided tour of his V8 Ford Museum. But for now, I'm Vic Piano saying, I'll see you down the Ford Road.